Well, welcome in once again. Time to talk football recruiting with Otis Kirk. And of course, Otis, we're going to start with the biggest news of the week. And of course, we got introduced to the four new assistant coaches this week. Obviously, that plays straight into recruiting
Yeah.
because Sam Pittman told us recruiting has got to get better. So, what are your thoughts on these guys and how have they already impacted recruiting?
Well, I like the fact that they're young and enthusiastic, their energy, and all four of them have ties to the areas where Arkansas has to recruit well. You take Coach Ashley was at Tulsa, Alyssa. He's got extreme ties to Texas. Obviously, being at Tulsa, he's going to have some ties to Oklahoma. That was a good state for Arkansas in the 2021 class. He's got ties with junior colleges all over the country, especially played in Texas. Um, you got Coach Kennedy has ties to Louisiana and the SEC area, Georgia, Alabama. He's from Alabama. I'm sure he's recruited Mississippi some. Coach Guyton is from Houston, got ties there. He played at Ohio State. He's got ties all over Texas, being with Coach Briles there at Houston and stuff, but he's got extensive ties in Houston. And I think that's important because that might be where and then of course your other one, Coach Shearer's got ties to Missouri. He played in Missouri from St. Louis Country Day High School. Uh, so Missouri's going to be good to Arkansas. I mean, they've gotten a lot of good players out there in recent years, and there's no reason to think they won't continue. And so I like the fact that these four coaches, not necessarily because they're young, because I don't think you have, I'm not young. I think I do a decent job. So I don't think you have to be, but I do think in recruiting, it helps you relate to the recruits. I think it gives you extra energy. I just think I just think it was a positive move. And, hey, let's don't overlook the fact they were 21st in recruiting in the nation this season with ESPN, and
Yeah.
they still got some scholarships left to sign for players. So it's not like recruiting was terrible. It may have not been up to Sam's standard, but recruiting wasn't terrible. But that's what this was about, was to improve recruiting. And if they can improve it from 21st, and get in the teams and make strides, eventually they may be in the single digit rankings.
Sure.
So, but this was about recruiting, and I like the moves. We'll see how it works out. I say I like it. You don't ever like it when someone loses their job, but in coaching, it's a little bit different than most professions. You can lose your job in coaching. You can go get another job. Sometimes you go get a better job. So it'll all work out for everybody involved. There's coaches everywhere. And so I've heard coaches say you're hired to be fired. So, it's not pleasant, but I do think it was for recruiting purposes, or just what Sam said, and I think it'll work out well. It's going to be good to see how it works out,
Mhm.
and so far so good. I
Yeah.
mean, these Zoom calls are doing. These kids love these coaches.
That's good. And then Sam said, well, if you have a question about age, if age equals good recruiting, we'd all be 60 years. All the guys coaching football would be 60 years old. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they give these guys obviously a chance to prove themselves first before we really kind of throw things at them. All right, but you talk about virtual visits, and that's what guys are doing right now. They continue with Trevante Citizen, some other guys who
Yeah.
are jumping on virtual visits with the Hogs.
Yeah, there were supposed to be six yesterday. Derek Brown from Texas High School down in Texarkana didn't make it. He had the ACT yesterday morning, then he had to work. He had some other things. He had a lot of things come up. So Derek didn't make it, but Trevante, I talked to him briefly. It was very briefly, but he said it was a good visit. He enjoyed it. Just had the thing I hear from all these guys that have these visits, how organized they are,
Hmm.
Alyssa. They're doing a very good job of organizing these events. It's not something that they're throwing together on Saturday morning and then presenting to the kids and their parents on Saturday afternoon. That's not what this is about. This is something that's well organized. It's thought out. It's complete. They go through the whole thing. It's as good as you can do without actually having a kid on campus. I mean, uh, it's it's virtual, but I mean, it gives the kids an idea, a good idea, and it gets them in the frame of mind that, hey, I want to visit. I mean, there was a couple of kids from Georgia, there was Trevante from Louisiana, there was a kid from Texas, one from Detroit, Michigan. So we'll see how it works out on all these players. There was three kids in the top 300 with an ESPN top 300.
Hmm.
All three are 4 stars. and the other three should be 4 stars and probably will be eventually. Trevante is from Lake Charles College Prep, yeah, down in Lake Charles, Louisiana. He plays both ways for that school. He rushed for nearly 700 yards and then he had 66 tackles on defense. So he plays both ways, never comes off the field. And he's 6 foot 200, being recruited to play running back though. And he's a 4-star. Obviously, the number he was ranked pretty high up there. I think number 185, if I'm not mistaken, in the top 300 with ESPN. So,
Yeah.
But
continuing to grow, obviously, and recruit at a high level. Looking down ahead in the future, Trey Emery is a guy, you know, from Mount Pleasant, Texas, who's a class of 2022. And what you say, he's high on the Hogs.
Yeah, and he had his virtual visit last week, but I talked to him after we did the show, so I wanted to bring him up because he is a kid that Coach Briles is all over. Mm-hmm. He's 6'4", 300. He was the District 9 5A Defensive Player of the Year, and this is for a player for the team. He's a junior, and they went 4-6. They didn't have a winning record. And you and I both know that kids on losing teams with losing records usually don't get those awards. And a lot of times juniors don't. They give them to seniors from the best team. He got that award, so that's incredible that he can get that. He had 48 tackles. He played defensive tackle, and Coach Briles is all over him. And it was one of the first schools to offer him. Tennessee was his first SEC offer. Arkansas was his second. He's got 10 offers right now. Mm-hmm. TCU, Baylor, and Oklahoma State. He's got a lot of good offers. Texas San Antonio's offered him. I think I said TCU, but if I didn't, Kansas, Houston, Colorado. So, I mean, he's getting offers from all over the country, but he really likes Arkansas. And I asked him, I said, when all this, you know, he was impressed. He and his mother both were very impressed with the Zoom visit. But I asked him, is this a school you're going to try to visit when the restrictions from COVID are lifted? And he said, definitely one of the first schools he wants to visit. So they've got him excited about Arkansas. Mount Pleasant's not that far from Arkansas compared to, you know, when with most of the recruits. And Texas is a state that Arkansas has to recruit well in. And I think they've got a good shot at Trey. I really do. I'm not saying he's coming here. I mean, Baylor, TCU, Houston, those schools are all over him. But I do think they've got a legit chance at him.
I know that Hog fans love to hear that. All right, last but not least, Vinnie Winters. He was offered, and he is the first in-state offer for the class of 2024. He's an offensive lineman.
Yeah, we talked about him the last 2 weeks on here, and I hate to just keep talking about the same kid, but the week before I talked about he got offered by Memphis. Last week I talked about, you know, Arkansas probably should be looking to offer this kid soon. The next day they offered him, and I saw him play up against Shiloh this year. He's 6'4", about 290. There's no doubt how big he's going to be. He's got a 4.0 grade point. Memphis, as I said, was the first school to offer him, but Arkansas reached out. You know, Shamar Easter down at Ashdown was the first kid in 2023 to get offered by Arkansas, and then so I mean, he's just in the 2021 class. Norwood was, but that was by the other staff. When Coach Pittman got here, Aaron Outley was the first kid that he offered in that class. So, you know, really the first kid in Arkansas to be offered by this staff is pretty nice, because look, there's a lot of talent in that 2024 class. I know we're talking about 9th grade kids, and a lot of things can happen in the next few years, but I'm telling you, that's those 2023, 2024, 2022, all those are pretty good classes. So Arkansas's got some talent here in the state. They're going to, you know, but Vinnie Winters, I'm so proud for him because he's just such a nice kid. He is not nice on the football field. He's a big, he protects Cedric Simmons down there at Malvern. That's their quarterback that I love. Absolutely love him. He's in the 2023 class, but Winters just, he can run block. He would roll you over, run block, but also pass block. They do both there, and they got obviously Cedric's a mobile quarterback. I really like the Winters kid, and I'm proud Arkansas offered him to Alyssa. I knew they would. I didn't know it'd be that soon, but I knew they would offer him because he's well, I mean, there's nothing to not like about the kid, other than the fact maybe he doesn't have a twin. I mean, that'd be the only thing I can say. Doesn't have a twin triplets, just like him. Because otherwise, I mean, he can play football. He's smart in the classroom. He's a great kid, great manners, great, just everything. I mean,
Yeah.
so there's nothing to not like about him. So I guess it's the easiest way to say that.
Well, okay. Thank you so much. Obviously, Otis bringing all the recruiting knowledge. I mean, you heard him right there. He said Arkansas needs to offer this kid, and they did it. So people listen to Otis Kirk
Wow.
around here. But one more for you, Otis.
Mhm.
It's Super Bowl Sunday. Who's winning tonight?
Well, who's winning? Kansas City. I am for Tampa Bay, and I'm gonna tell you why. I didn't care who won until I got to looking at the roster. And with Jeremiah Ledbetter, I got to be pretty close to Jason Pierre-Paul when he was at Fort Scott, up there in Kansas. Gronk is a Lakers fan. Do I need to say any more or less? I mean, we just ended on that. I mean, he's a Lakers fan, so I mean, I'm for the Tampa Bay, but I think Kansas City will win.
Okay.
So you heard it both ways, and rewind the show if Tampa Bay wins and say I said Tampa Bay was going to win.
There you go. I'm undecided still. I can't make up my mind. I'll probably make up my mind right before kickoff. So trying to see what everyone else is and who everyone else is rooting for. Otis, thanks so much. We'll catch up with you next week.
I'll see you, Liz. Thanks.